Alright, so I'm back. I cleaned off all the dust, so I cleaned out the dust from the fans. There's still a little dust from the fans. You can't really get all of it out unless you kind of like, I don't know, I used a toothbrush and got out what I could and then used an air blower. But anyways, we got the motherboard or the logic board out. So we're going to set this aside. Oh, and then a lot of people always ask if the CPU or GPU are replaceable, and no, they're not. Unless you replace the whole motherboard or the logic board. Okay, so I'm going to set the rest of it aside. We got the motherboard here. We are going to be redoing the thermal paste on this thing. So I got it kind of zoomed in. You don't really need to see the sides of this. Alright, so now what we're going to do, let's just take the Phillips JAS or PH1 screwdriver and remove all the screws from here. Okay, they are numbered in order of how you're supposed to tighten them to get the best even pressure on it. So that way, because usually when you do the paste, you just put it as a ball and the pressure of the heat sink will actually spread it out for you. Okay, and usually the thermal pads, I will just reuse them. So unless they get all torn up. If the thermal pads get all torn up or something, then usually you'll want thermal pads, but I use Icy Diamond and it stays like as a thick paste, so I will actually replace the pads with the paste. Okay, so we're going to remove all these screws. Hopefully the issue they're having isn't the wireless card itself, but you can replace the wireless card if anything, so if they do need it, let me see if I can pop this out. I should be able to actually pop this out even without completely taking out the whole thing. It's just a little tricky because you kind of have to wiggle it while you kind of pull it back. As you can see, I'm kind of wiggling it and using this raised part to pull the wireless card back. Okay, just like this. There's not much room to grab it or anything, so it makes it difficult, but you get the point. If you want, you can do one side and then go to the other side and just rock it back and forth like this using this piece, and that seems to kind of help walk it out. But I think they put a thermal pad or something under because it's like stuck on there. Okay, so I'm going to try and just lift this up more. Yeah, it's stuck on something. Something's holding it in place. That's kind of weird. Alright, let me rotate this and try to get the wireless card out first, just in case somebody else needs to replace it. It does go up slightly, but it doesn't want to come out. That's so strange. Okay, let's try and wiggle this out. Wow, that's really stuck in there. I mean, you can see the wireless card is almost completely disconnected. Let me see from this side. Oh yeah, there is a thermal pad or something holding it. Okay, so that thermal pad, I don't know, it's causing some problems, I guess. But, I want to pull this out, and it doesn't want to come out at all. That's crazy stuff. Okay. So, I don't know. This wireless card really doesn't want to pop out. Look at it. It's almost completely unplugged, and it's still stuck. Wow. Okay. That thermal pad that they used under there, it's not good. Not a good idea. That probably is screwing it up. That's crazy. So I don't know what to tell you guys with the wireless, as far as the wireless card goes. Okay, let me try and remove this first so I have a little more room to work with. Okay, so as far as this goes, you kind of want to unscrew it, and while you're unscrewing it, just kind of put a little upward pressure, so once the screw completely comes out, you can lift it off. Here you go. I'm going to slowly flip it over, and there you can see this is actually, they did a bad thermal paste job. So usually you just want a little bit on the die. They put so much, it's all over the chip. You don't want that. Here you can see it forms these bubbles all over here. And those bubbles, they just hold heat in place. If you know how styrofoam works, it's basically just air pockets. And because the air pockets can't flow around, that's what makes it hold the heat all in one place. And I might just replace these thermal pads with the thermal paste because it's not too crazy. I mean, there's quite a few, but we'll see. Because if I replace it with thermal paste, it requires a pretty thick layer, because these pieces are pretty thick, as you can see. They're pretty thick, probably about 0.5 millimeter or so, so that's usually a lot of paste. So usually I don't replace the pads with paste, and also it gets a little messy if you have to take it out and clean it up. So let's see, these pads, I don't know, because they're discolored like dark blue, it kind of makes me feel like I need to replace them. Usually once they change color like that, it means it's like overheating. All right, let's see if I can grab the wireless card now. Oh my god, what the heck? I don't know what they did, but this thing is like way overheated, and like, oh, there we go, it's like peeling up. Jeez. Okay, so I'm very likely going to have to replace the wireless card. If it's that stuck on there, it must have like, oh yeah, okay, there we go. So I peeled it up and now it comes out. So it got so hot, as you can see, this pad, it even like melted onto it and it peeled the sticker off. So very likely the wireless card's going to need to be replaced. I might just take that rubber pad off. I don't know, because I feel this rubber pad is actually keeping the heat where it shouldn't be, and that's causing problems. So let's see, if you need a wireless card, it's this Killer 1535, that's the model. Okay, US SKU number, sorry, I don't know if you can read that, 220 blah blah blah, whatever, you can read it, and just pause the video there. All right, I know my fingers are gross and dirty. I do a lot of work with my hands and stuff sticks there, so whatever. People complain about them, they complain about my fingernails, I use them, so. Okay, if it bothers you, not my problem. All right, so we're gonna put that back. But yeah, this thing sticks. I don't know why they put a rubber pad under there. I don't see that on any other models. But I'm going to leave that there for now. If the customer wants me to replace the wireless card later, or if it's still having problems, then I'll see about removing that rubber pad and see if that helps at all. As far as removing all this stuff, usually what I'll do is use a paper towel or napkin. I'll hold it upside down over a trash can, and then I'll just clean that off. I'm going to have to do that off to the side, but basically you just get a napkin or paper towel and just rub that stuff out. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna fold up this napkin here and I'm gonna clean that off. I'm gonna do that off camera because I don't have a small enough trash can that I can just hold this and then but basically you just rub the stuff off, okay? Yeah, and I'm gonna hold it this way so that way the stuff won't fall into the RAM. So just rub it upside down and let it all fall in there. Okay, I'm gonna clean that off and I'll be back. I'll also do that on the heat sink here. So I'll do that and then I'll be back. Actually, let me see if I can, maybe I'll open a napkin and just put it here so you can see. Okay. Usually the way you know that the paste is bad is if you kind of rub it and it doesn't just wipe off on your finger. That means the paste got all like hardened, and that's not good. Okay, so we're gonna set this napkin down here. Oh, I have another customer outside, so I will be back. I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. So let's clean off the thermal paste, okay? So again, I'm just gonna flip it upside down like this. Hopefully this paper will catch all of it. And then I'm just gonna try and rub this stuff off. I'm gonna end up dropping a lot of this all over my desk. But we'll see. I mean, you guys get the idea. And just clean it all off. Okay. And usually after, you can't really get all of it off, so I have to use the toothbrush to kind of brush the rest of it out. And I'll show that in a bit. I should probably get like a hard bristle toothbrush to make it easier, but usually I just use the soft bristle ones. Okay. Okay, just clean this all off. Okay, here you can see I got most of this off of the GPU. Again, I'm very likely going to redo the thermal pads with the thermal paste as well. You don't want to use normal thermal paste for the thermal pads because the normal thermal paste, like other types, it's too thin and it will actually leak all over everything, so you don't want to do that. Also, if you're using ones that are conductive, you can cause some damage. That's why I use the icy diamond. It's good at conducting heat, but it doesn't conduct electricity, so it's not really an issue if it gets over other components. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're gonna do this, you don't want to use like any random thermal paste. You can actually damage your computer replacing the thermal pads with thermal paste. So if you really want to, you can get the actual thermal pads and do it. But yeah, icy diamond or diamond thermal paste works really well. Just make sure it doesn't have any conductive stuff in it. So I got most of it off the GPU or the CPU as well. Again, you get the stuff here in the GPU where it can't come out. That's where you have to kind of use a toothbrush and do it. And you kind of just keep brushing it like this, and eventually you can get most of it out. You might want to get, again, like harder toothbrush to do this because I have just like the soft bristles. But anyways, I'm going to use the napkin, wipe out some more if I can. It's not too important that you get all this stuff off of these little pieces, but I don't like that it keeps the heat where it shouldn't be, so I try and clean it out as good as I can. Okay, so I'm gonna dump this in the trash. Actually, I still need to clean off the heat sink, so I'm gonna do that as well. Put that over there. Okay. So I got the heat sink as well. Same thing, you don't want it to go all over the pads unless you're replacing them. Just keep it like face down like this and just rub this stuff off. And then also to clean it off even better, you can use some isopropyl alcohol after. Some people buy like some special chemicals or something to do it from some computer manufacturers, but just isopropyl alcohol works perfectly fine. You don't need to buy that stuff, okay? Okay, but here you can see the paste is not even paste anymore. It's like more of a solid now. And that's how you know that the paste really needs to be replaced. Okay. Yeah, that's super solid. Wow. Okay. If you want, you can use like the plastic little pry tools to kind of help scrape it off. Or you can even use metal. It doesn't matter if this thing gets all scraped up, but looks wise, yeah, you can just use the plastic thing like this and scrape this off. Okay, just like this. Sometimes it gets cooked on so bad that you can't even scrape it off. Like it's really strong, and then you have to use like a razor blade or something, or soak it in isopropyl alcohol. But yeah. Go. Clean that all up around the edges. Okay, and just scrape it all off. Alright. Okay, cleaning off all of that. Alright, so we got as much as we can off with that. Let's try and, again, brush this stuff off. If you want, you can kind of use this thing to like pick out the little bits in between. Again, it would help to use kind of a toothbrush with harder bristles, but I don't have one on me right now, so I'm just going to use this. Okay. Just so they're not all connected to each other. Alright, if this was like a silver paste, I don't know what they use on here, it's probably like ceramic paste or something. But if they use like a silver paste and this leaked over like this, you'd actually destroy your computer. Okay. There we go, got most of it. Now I'm just going to use the brush to get the rest. Okay. Scrape it off a little bit better. Okay. Again, you don't have to get it perfect, but I like to try and get as much as possible. There we go. Okay, that looks good. Okay. Let's get off this little bit as well. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to use the rubbing alcohol to clean off the residue. So let me clean up this junk that's all over my table. Okay. Just dump this in the trash. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we'll take this. Okay, I got that. What we're going to do is get the bottle of rubbing alcohol. And then I just dab it on the paper towel or napkin. Okay, so you got like that, just dab it on. Okay, and then you just rub this stuff up. Okay, and it will take a while. Here you can see it's getting all gross and dirty. You might have to use a lot of this depending on how bad the paste is. Okay. Usually after the paste or the rubbing alcohol soaks in, you can see it wipes off a lot easier. So you might have to kind of like let it soak and then you can work your way through. Okay, I don't know if you were able to see how bad it was before, but here you can see it's almost completely clean. Put the paper over. Clean that up. And usually after I finish getting most of it out, I'll use like a clean napkin and then redo the whole thing one more time just to make sure it gets all the residue out. So there we go. I'm going to switch to the motherboard and do the same thing. You don't want to put too much pressure on the motherboard, so don't like press down and like rub it like crazy. You kind of just, there's some, I don't know if those are scratches in it. It looks like there's scratches in the thing. Okay, so just like that. Alright, same thing with here. Still a little bit caught here, so I'm going to clean that off. If you want, you can put some rubbing alcohol in there and then brush it, but you want to make sure it's completely dry after if you do that. So be careful. Okay. Use another one that's cleaner. Okay, I'm going to use a toothbrush and try and clean that out. This stuff. Okay. Pick up all that loose stuff. I'm going to use the toothbrush and clean it out. Over the trash can. Okay. We got most of it out. I'm going to get one more clean napkin and then we're going to wipe it up. You want to try and keep the lint out. Okay, well, it looks like that's going to be a lot of thermal paste if I do all the edges, but well. Okay, so clean that up. And you can use the dry side to make sure it's all nice and shiny. Get all the lint off. Okay. And we'll get this, and then we'll do the same thing. Usually this, it'll keep leaving some gray stuff on the napkin or paper towel because it's just like the oxidation from the copper. Just clean it as best as you can. There we go. And then make sure to dry it off. There we go. All right, so we got all of that out. Now we're gonna grab this back. Okay, and then let's turn it this way. This is like an anti-static mat thing that I got from screens that I order. So be careful if you're doing this. You don't want to do it somewhere that's going to have a lot of static. Okay, so we got this. So it's going to connect this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see about, I don't know if I should put the paste where the pads are. I think I'll just leave the pads. If it still has heat issues, I'll probably do it again for him. But let's see, because if I put that, let's see, there's one, okay, that one's just hovering, so there's nothing there. Okay, so we'll put it on these three. I guess I'll put the paste. Okay. So I got the thermal paste here. Put a thick layer. So this is supposed to, when you put the thing back on top, it'll spread out the paste. So you actually put a lot and then it will spread it thin by itself. Okay. All right, so this is going to take a lot of paste. Let's see what's under here. So you got those 6 chips. So you can kind of judge it based on how thick this stuff is and then just make it a bit thicker. So that way when it goes, it will actually spread on the chip itself. And you kind of want to try and center the blobs. So if you can, make sure that the tallest part is at the center of the chip. So that way when the heatsink goes down, it will actually spread it out evenly. Okay. All right, try and get it towards the center. Just like that. Okay. So we're gonna have to like constantly check to see if we got all the pieces that need the paste. Okay, so we're gonna do this, and then we need it on this one. Since this is a much bigger chip, we're gonna need a lot more. Okay, then we're gonna need it on those two. Okay. And these things don't put out as much heat, so they actually don't need as crazy good cooling or thermal contact as the dies do. Okay, and then this, since it's kind of rectangular, you kind of want to have the blob of the paste more in a rectangular shape. Okay. So that way when it spreads out, it'll spread out in that rectangular shape. Okay. Just like that, just like that. All right, let's see. Then we got these 3, and then we got these 2, and then we got these. Okay. Put some here. Center it. Okay, and then we just got these 3 and those 2. We're gonna remove this. Okay, I'm just removing the thermal pads from the thing. Okay, this one was pretty bad. It was actually bubbling. So I'm gonna have to definitely remove this one. Okay, and then peel all this up. There we go. All right, so we're gonna throw all these thermal pads away because they're all breaking. I don't know what the actual thickness of these are, but it looks like close to 1/2 millimeter or so. So if you wanted to replace the pads, you can do that. You can buy those. Okay. All right, so now let's put the paste on these. Again, if you're using paste, you want to use like a diamond paste because it doesn't conduct electricity and it's really good at transferring heat. Okay. All right. There we go. And once you put the thing down, you don't want to lift it back up because then that will introduce air pockets into it. What you want to do is you want to create like little mounds of the paste here, the way I'm doing. So that way when you put the thing down, oh, somebody's messaging. Okay, I have to finish this first. So you want it kind of as a mound, so that way when you put the heatsink down, it'll actually push all the air bubbles from the middle out to the edges. Okay, so that's why I kind of like try and make it like a center mount. All right, so now we got the GPU. Kind of don't really want to touch it with your hands because you'll get like grease on it, so just use that. Okay, so now we're going to put a big blob here. This one, the die is pretty big, so you'll have close to about the size of a pea. Though that's actually a bit too much, but it'll keep it all towards the outside. And you just put it at the center, okay? So you want to kind of look over the top, make sure it's centered as best you can. Okay, and then this one, you kind of put like a grain of rice style, like that. Even that's too much because when it spreads super thin. Okay, and then you kind of want to have it just like a grain of rice. The center is a bit thicker, so when you actually put down the thing, it spreads it super thin and it will get good contact. There we go. So that's the whole thing of paste. That's a lot of paste that we used. It's probably like close to $15 to $20 of paste that we used on this one computer. Okay, clean off the little residue a little bit from the heat pads, though the heat pad stuff is still okay. It conducts heat, so you don't have to completely clean it off, but just clean off the little crumbs. Okay, all right, so when you put the this back on, you want to get it all lined up. and then you can see that they number it. So there's 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm gonna actually turn the board around to make it easier for me to screw in the numbers the way they are, just like this. Okay, and you want to, again, make sure you get it lined up right the first time, because if you lift it up, it's gonna mess it up. Okay, so try and look from the side. Make sure you get the screws lined up when you drop it down. And yeah, okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so with the screwdriver, you'll start with 1 up here. It's always good to twist it backwards. You hear it click, and then 2, 3. All right, same thing here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't twist it all the way in right away, as you can see. So 5, 1, 2, 3, number 6. 1, 2, 3, number 7. 1, 2, 3, number 8. 1, 2, 3, and then you just go again, and then you go back to 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, back to 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, and then it's most likely going to tighten all the way. 1, 2, oh yep, okay. So make sure it's nice and tight. Go back to 2, make sure it's nice and tight. 3, make sure it's nice and tight. 4, make sure it's nice and tight. 5, nice and tight. 6, nice and tight. 7, nice and tight. 8, nice and tight. Okay, and then if you want, you can wait, give it a little bit, and then double check and then retighten them again, just in case. Sometimes the spring will help push it down. So I'm going to clean this, even though this doesn't really need to be, but we'll do that anyways. Okay, all right, and then we're going to check it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and hopefully while you are doing this, you kind of tried to keep yourself grounded, touching something metal to prevent any static electricity buildup. Okay. All right. So now let's put it back together. I'm going to brush off the fan a little bit more while I have it open. I'll be back in a bit. Gonna clean the fan a little more. All right, I'm back. So let's put this thing back together, and hopefully everything is good. So I don't know the wireless card. We'll see, because he said when it gets really hot, that's when it stops working. Hopefully redoing the thermal paste will prevent that, but I have a feeling it might be the wireless card itself. All right, so when we put this back, you put it heat sink side down, and we have to get these ports in first, I believe. Let me see, is that how it went in? Okay, so put this side at an angle, and then usually you want to make sure all these ports line up. I don't remember, I was working on another laptop as well. Okay, it looks like it doesn't really matter as long as you can get it to go line up properly. So get this to line up with these little raised notches, and then slowly drop it into place. Okay, if there are cables that were on top, make sure that they don't stay underneath the motherboard when you drop it down. Okay, and then we'll slowly work this, wiggle it, make sure it's going. Might have to, oh yeah, we do have to pull this side out to get the HDMI cable to drop under, and there we go. Make sure everything is lined up. These ports all looked lined up. Okay. Everything looks good. Okay, so now we're going to reattach this cable. All right, just get it lined up. Make sure it goes in between the slot, not above or like pushing onto the metal. There we go. Whoa, this metal thing slid out. That should not have happened. So this latch, if it comes out, you kind of have to like, it kind of like clamps in over the side, so you kind of have to pull it and then get it back into that slot, just like that. Okay, and then put this little metal latch back over, just like that. There we go. Make sure you use the wings to kind of pull it, make sure it's good. Alright, so now we're going to put back all the screws. We can put it back in the order that they numbered them again if we want. This one was 5. I'm going to go backwards, so 5. Okay. Because that's how I took them out, so less confusing. 5, 4. Alright. 3. 2. Sorry if it's going off camera. And 1. Alright. Now we got all the motherboard screws back in. We need to put the one for that battery that we took out. Okay, so this one, it goes over the battery. I guess this can be considered number 0. Okay, I don't know if something's not seated right. It seems like it's bowed up slightly. So you want to make sure everything is going in place properly. I think some stuff might not be lined up right, so I'm actually gonna take it back out and double check. So let's take this connector out. It might just be in my mind because I didn't really pay attention too well how it was before, but let's do that. 1, 2, 3. I'm not saying them as the numbers, I'm just counting the screws. 4. Oh, wait, we don't have to take that out. And 5. Alright, then we take out this one. Alright, let's see if something's going on here that I missed. We'll lift this back up. Make sure you clear the HDMI port. Okay. Alright, let's see. Am I missing something here? The battery's fine. Okay. Alright, it looks like it's okay. So, let's put this back in. Make sure those things line up. No, sorry, I'm doing it twice. Okay. Slowly drop it in. Pull the casing back so that the HDMI port can fall into place. Alright, that's the one difficult part. And then drop it in. Okay, I don't know why it feels like it's bowing up right here, but whatever. Okay, get this cable back out. Maybe that's how it was and I just didn't pay attention when I first removed it, but okay. Pull these back in. Put the latch back down. Okay, and let's put back the screws again. Screw number 5. Okay, screw number 4. Yeah, and this is part 2, so if you're wondering how I got all these other pieces out, you can rewatch starting with part 1. Screw number 3. This video ended up being so long that I actually can't connect them together with my phone. I'd have to use another program, so yeah, I'm gonna have to leave it as 2 parts. Okay, screw number 1, and then the battery one. Okay, there we go, tighten that in. We're gonna reconnect these cables. We got the Tron light cable here, so just push that in, get it lined up, and then squeeze the 2 pieces together, just like that. Alright, put back down the adhesive. Alright, just like that. Alright, guide these wires for the speaker. Oops, I'm going off camera, I'm sorry. Guide these wires for the speakers underneath. Alright, let's get the blue wire and the red wire, and then this wire. Alright, we'll get the speaker connector in, like that. Squeeze the two together. There we go. Alright, looks like we got all of that in. We're going to now put back the screen. Okay. So grab the screen. Slots back in like this. Hopefully you can see. If you notice, the screen has these little parts that stick out. That's where you just line it up with those little holes and drop it in. Okay. Just like that. Make sure it's all lined up. Perfect. Let's put back those screws. Usually the hinge screws, I also like to use some thread locker. So I have this red thread locker stuff. So I like to put that because sometimes the hinge screws, they come loose, and if they come loose, they cause damage. Though this hinge design is actually really nice, so it probably wouldn't have that issue. But anyways, just to be safe, I like to use the Loctite, or not Loctite, thread locker. The red kind I find is a lot better, but if the mechanism that the screws go into isn't very good, sometimes you can run into issues where you can't unscrew the screws. It'll get stuck with the little nut or bolt that's underneath. This one, it's actually like a solid piece of metal or something, so it won't have that issue at all. Alright. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Last screw for the hinge, that's on the inside. Okay. So we'll lift up these cables out of the way, get the screw in, and tighten that in place as well. Okay. There we go. Alright, let's put in the LCD or LVDS cable. Lift up the little plastic stuff. Alright, get it lined up. Pull that in. Alright. I like to use the wings if possible, because as you saw, this metal thing sometimes will just get yanked out. Alright, clip that back down, put the plastic over. Alright, now we got the wireless antenna, so they're getting caught in the fan. So let's put back this cable first. Alright, just like this. Line it up. Get it completely lined up. There we go. And then pull, squeeze the two together. There we go. Put this adhesive back down. Then we got the antennas. Guide them back through the way they were before. Okay. And then it goes through this little hole with the arrow there. We are going to have to lift up the computer so that it can come through. Okay. If it's difficult, you can straighten out the wires a little bit and then do that. Okay. Get it through. Threading it through to the other side. Oh, you can't really see the other side, but yeah. Okay. Just thread it through. Kind of work it in. Alright. And then get that back lined up, and then you can put this adhesive back down. There we go. I'm going to close this and flip this back over. I'm actually going to put back these screws first. Let's put these little clips back in. Okay. So I'm going to put the other screen or the hinge screws back in before I forget to add the thread locker. Okay. Use very little. Alright. Now let's tighten the screw in. Okay. Sorry if I'm going out of camera, it's kind of awkward holding it at this angle. Okay. And get the other one, same thing. Add a tiny bit of thread locker. You can see on the screws there's some blue thread locker from the factory. Okay, let's put back this screw. There we go. This is actually a better angle to do it. Okay, tighten it up. Make sure it's nice. Alright, there we go. Then guide the wire. You do have to put this side of the wire down first. You kind of have to twist it to get it past that little nub, and then twist it the other way to get it past this one, just like that. Alright, black wire to black antenna, and white wire to the white antenna. Okay, and the way you put in these antennas, one person asked before, let me zoom in, I don't know if it will be very clear, but I'll try and show it. Okay, so what you want to do is you just line this up the best you can, and then usually when you have it over, like if you try and wiggle it around, as you can see it's staying in place, then you know it's lined up properly. Then you just push over the top. Hopefully if it doesn't push down and it's like you're putting too much pressure, you might want to check, because a lot of times people bend the little connectors, and once you bend it, you have to either find a way to bend it back, or you have to replace the antennas and stuff. Alright, so same thing with the black wire, line it up. As you can see, if I move my fingernail over it, it stays in place, and then just push it down. There you go. Okay, so we're going to put the little metal bracket back. Okay. Just line it up. I like to use the screwdriver to kind of hold it in place. Get it lined up, and then screw it down. Just like that. Okay. And you got the fan connectors. Line them up. Push them back down. I like to try and push from both sides if I can. Hopefully you're able to see that in the camera, because I know it's zoomed in a lot. Let me actually zoom out a little bit so you can see all the connectors that we have to reconnect. We're going to actually do the battery last. We'll do the DC jack here. On this one, the white plastic part faces the RAM, and then the exposed metal pins point away. So just push that back in. This, you might actually want to put the top panel first, because you can see it's flexing the board a lot. But anyways, we'll do that. And if you're careful, you should be okay. Kind of just walk the cable back in for the fan as well. Alright, and I think that should be good. Alright, so now we're going to put back the top panel. Okay, everything else looks like it should be good. So we'll flip this over, put this up like this. Putting the top panel can be a little tricky because all the wires that come out. Oops. Okay. So what you do, first we're going to have it up like this. Let me see if I can see what I'm doing. Okay, and because that one cable for the power button goes in first, you kind of have to have it like this. Okay, and you gotta kind of put it in at a weird angle. Let me see if I can even show this on camera. So you put the thing like that at a weird angle, and we're gonna have to try and push that in. So I'm gonna push this forward so I have more room to work. Okay, and then like this, get the cable lined up, get it completely lined up, and then we'll push that in. Okay, you can use this plastic tab, and also I use my fingernails at the top of this part to help push it in. There we go. Make sure it looks flush, and yep, we're good. Put that plastic back down. Alright, and then we just push this back in place. We will have to tilt it upwards on its back like this. Okay, oops, too far. Okay, and then you have to guide all those little wires through. What you can do, because it's a little tricky, you can use tweezers, or if you have like this little stick thing, you can use that to help pull it through. But again, you have to pull all the slack through. So same thing, the other one is kind of hiding underneath here. Okay, so you want to pull these cables through. Tweezers are the easiest way, but basically you pull this up. You can use your finger with a little stick. You can use a chopstick, whatever you want. Alright, and just pull these wires all the way through. So just like that. Come on, this cable's being weird. It also helps, you can actually go from the other side and then use your hand to kind of push it through if you don't have tweezers or something to do it. Okay. So just like that. I might get the tweezers, but I'm being lazy because the tweezers are in my other box. So let's just pull that through. There we go. Pull that through. There we go. Pull this one through. There we go. And then the last cable here. Oh, I'm probably gonna have to use the tweezers. Okay. I'll try a little more with this, but if I can't, I'm gonna go get my tweezers. Okay, I'm gonna get my tweezers and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I got the tweezers. Okay, so just grab the little thing and pull it through. There we go. Much easier with tweezers. Okay, now that we got all these cables through, we're gonna have to just clip everything back in place. Alright, so you want to clip the back end first, just like this. Okay, and then work your way around the sides. Basically the opposite of the way we took it out. There we go. Close the screen. Flip this over. Put the SD card slot thingy back. Okay. Pretty much done with the tweezers. Okay, and then all of these, you want to make sure that these plastic latches are pulled up, so that way when you put the cables back in, you can clamp them back down, okay? Alright, so let's zoom in so you can kind of see. It's a little bit tricky. You gotta get it lined up. Okay. Lined up. And then you use the solid plastic part that's on the end, the dark brown part, to kind of hold that in place. And while you're holding it in place, just push this latch down. And then there you go, it's holding the cable in place, okay? Just like that. I don't know if it matters where you tuck this cable. I think it was just out here. Okay, same thing with all the rest of them. Get the cable. I'm trying to get a good angle view without blocking the camera. Get that in. Okay, hold it down with the thick plastic piece and then push that down, and there you go. That one's locked in as well. This one goes, oh, it's weird. I guess I'll tuck it under the battery. Okay. Then same thing with this one. Make sure the latch is up. Okay, guide it in. I don't know why they use these kind of cables. I don't really like this mechanism, but sorry, I know my head's getting in the way. Alright, hold that cable in place. Push the latch down. There we go. Okay, so this one's like hitting this stuff, so I think I might have to tuck it underneath. I don't know. Yeah, guess I'll... Is that how it was? Because it has like a dent in the cable. I'm going to fold it under because I don't want it to get dented even more. So I'm going to fold all of them, tuck them all under. Alright, and then the last one. This is for keyboard backlight. Alright, hold it down at the hard plastic piece and then push that in. Okay, it might help to use this, so that way I can push that in. Alright, then you want to push on the front of every connector to make sure it's all the way in. I guess the board still flexes even like that. Okay, so we got all of that. Now we're going to put all the screws in. Okay, oops, it's one of those. There we go. Okay, so let's put back all the screws. Zoom back out. Okay, so hopefully you kept all the screws in order. I got the longest ones here. Okay. And if you want, you can put back all the side screws in, or you can do it kind of, I do it by row. It's easier to remember. So I'm gonna put this one in. All right, this one in. You still have to put back the hard drive and the SSD. All right, and we're gonna put back these three in the center here. If these screws don't go in, you might have to push on the other side of the keyboard to help make it reach the screw holes, but it looks like so far on this model they're going, oh, okay, see this one, it doesn't reach. So what you have to do, you have to open up the computer slightly and then push on the back of the keyboard to help make it squeeze the two layers closer together. There we go. Okay, put that one in. Alright, then we got the side one here. Zoom in a little bit more. Okay, and we got the two under here. Okay, looks like this one we don't have to hold the keyboard up. There we go. Alright, that one, this one. This one. Alright, this one down here. And the last one for the case. And then we gotta put the SSD in. Okay, let's grab the M.2 SSD, put it in at an angle, like that. And you slot it down, put the screw in. Just like that. Get the hard drive. Put that in place. Okay, guide it through the little notches. Okay, just like that. Side as well, guide it through the notches, then put this connector in, line it up, push it down, there we go. Okay, just like that. Make sure to guide it around those notches so it stays in place. There's some little dust on there, get that off. Doesn't want to come out. Use a toothbrush. There we go. Alright, and then we'll tighten the last 4 screws inside, make sure we reconnect the battery, and put the back panel on. And we're good to go. So this was a super long video, super long repair. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching. You're welcome to stay till I finish plugging it in and powering it on. I might have to plug in the charger. Sometimes on these, when you remove the batteries, it makes you have to plug in the charger. So we'll see. Okay. Alright, so let's make sure we get this plugged in the right way. Alright, looks like the gold pins do face that way. Let me confirm with the old battery. Okay, old battery, yes, the gold pins, the gold exposed pins face towards the RAM. So just like that, line it up. Okay, push the battery connector in. There we go. And we're good to go. Now we just got to put the last bottom cover on. If it's dusty, you can clean it off. Alright, put the bottom in first. Kind of push towards the sides to kind of flex it because there's these little clips here. Okay, let's just like that. You want to bow the middle out upwards while you kind of push the sides in, just like that, and then screw, twist it backwards first to get it to fall into place, and then tighten it down just like this. Alright, so hopefully we got everything reconnected. Looks like we're good to go. Okay, there we go. Alright, everything's reassembled. Let's see if it turns on. You might have to plug it back in to turn it on. And these, you usually have to hold the button. Okay, it didn't turn on, so let's plug it in. Oh, actually, it's turning on. Okay, it took a little while. Alright, so there we go. Looks like we're good to go. So again, hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And if you're looking for part 1, I'll put the link in the description below. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.